I want to welcome Shakara McCants. She's the Executive Vice President of Corporate Development at 7th Sense Consulting and an Industry Vice Chair for the ACT-IAC Associates 2021 Leadership Development Program, which is where I've had the honor and blessing to get to know you, Shak. So for those who don't know you, well, first, thank you for joining me.
No, thank you for inviting me. I'm super excited.
Well, I've been very excited to work with you on the program as well, getting to know you, because I don't think we had a reason to interact before.
We did not. So, I mean, it's definitely been a pleasure getting to know you and being a part of ACT-IACT and continuing that path.
Yeah. Well, so for those who haven't had a chance to meet you and hear a little bit about your background, share some of that. Where are you from, who you are, and what you do?
Sure. So as Jeremy stated, I go by Shak. For everyone that knows me, it's kind of something that stuck and I just lead with it now in my professional career. So I'm originally from Mobile, Alabama. For those that like SEC football, it's all about Roll Tide. But, you know, I'm originally from Alabama, made my way to DC by way of my husband, who's in the Navy. But, you know, I spent 30 years or so in Alabama. Then I moved away and I've lived in California and DC, and I've lived in Florida. So I've kind of made my way on the coast, I guess, so to speak. But, you know, that's just a little bit about me. I'm married. I have 3 kids. I have a 16, 13, and a 10-month-old. So we have rounded things out.
That's amazing.
Yes. As you stated, Jeremy, I am the Executive Vice President of Corporate Development at 7th Sense Consulting. I've been in government contracting, I guess, for about 10 years or so now. I feel like I kind of made my way to government contracting a little unconventional, you know, if you don't mind me taking us down that path, Jeremy. So, you know, when I graduated from college, I started at Enterprise Rent-A-Car in their management training program. I'll be honest with you. When I started, I said, oh, I'll work here for 6 months. Who wants to rent cars after they go to college? But then I found myself being there for about 7.5 years. Wow. And, you know, I was able to really learn how to manage a business, learn operations. I felt like I had hard lessons in leadership at Enterprise. You know, I found myself getting promoted quickly and not really knowing what I was supposed to be doing, managing people I probably had no business managing, but, you know, it kind of took me there. And so I did that for about 7.5 years doing, you know, rental management, operations management. I started to do some business development. And then my husband got orders from Alabama to California. And it was during that time, it was like, okay, do I continue working? We had a 3-year-old and a 3-month-old, and I actually stepped away from my career and I took 3 years off and was a stay-at-home mom. And then we moved from California to DC, and I was like, okay, I have to get back working. I have to get back in the swing of things. But I found that my skills weren't really translating to the positions I was applying for. I also think it was just what I didn't know about government contracting, right? Like I didn't know the difference between a funded position, the company has the award versus, hey, no, we're bidding you on a proposal. So I just kept thinking that people were just not getting back to me for the positions I was applying for. And I believe it or not, I got into government contracting. I applied for a position via Craigslist.
Oh, wow.
And I don't even know if Craigslist is even still around.
Yeah, I haven't looked at it in years. Yeah.
It's been years. There was a part-time office manager position available on Craigslist. And I applied, and it was at E3 Federal Solutions is who I applied to at the time. And that was how I broke into government contracting, was applying on Craigslist, getting this part-time office manager position. But I was able to get with a company that was a small company. And so I had an opportunity that I felt like I couldn't pass up, because once I got in there and I'm like, okay, well, guess what? I used to do this and I used to do that. And so I was able to really build off of the skills I then had through this kind of backdoor way, and found myself, you know, doing like operations management, doing some HR. Then I went on to be a business analyst, and oh, that was not the position for me. Me looking at numbers, it's not a good thing. But then I was able to learn like program management. And then I finally found my way back to business development at E3 Federal Solutions. And then I felt like I was with them for 7 years, fantastic company. And I was lucky enough to meet Herb Watson, who's the CEO of 7th Sense Consulting. And I felt like he kind of tapped me on my shoulder and said, hey, I'm creating this position. I think you would be fantastic. And so I've now been at 7 Cents Consulting for a little over 2 years now, running their growth organization. So I gave you such a long answer, Jeremy, but that's kind of who I am and kind of how I got to government contracting. And I've been in government contracting for 10 years now.
And that's a great story, though. I mean, I think, if I'm correct anyway, there are many people I know who've been afraid to step away from their careers for kids or anything, yes, really, right? Because they were worried they wouldn't be able to pick it back up. And this is a great way for you to say, no, it's possible.
Oh, it's absolutely possible. Now, granted, I had my days where I was like, oh, I have to get promoted. I have to get back to where I was. But, I learned a lot of patience, and I learned that I had to just wait my turn, and I had to wait for the right opportunities to show up. But I think the good thing was I learned so much along the way that I feel like it made me well-rounded from having to wait and having to be patient to get to where I ultimately wanted to get to.
Wow, that is amazing. I'm going to go away from this conversation, and I'm not going to be able to forget about that.
Are you going to go and Google Craigslist and see if it's still
well, probably not, because Craigslist is probably sketchy nowadays.
Oh, I think it's probably really sketchy.
I just really like that idea, because I mean, like I said, I mean, even my own wife, she was very concerned about career stuff when we start to have kids, and so I love that you can show that is with enough determination and positive thinking and willingness to learn, then you were able to then leverage that back into what you wanted to do.
Absolutely. And, I did have my days, of course, where I thought, man, will I be able to get back to doing what I love and get back, not necessarily to a title, so to speak, but just get back to a level of influence, get back to a level of being able to provide mentorship and to provide training and really share the things that people poured into me. And, that's the part of my job that I love, is how I can pour into other people, how I can hopefully be some type of mentor and really just give back. I mean, I've had great mentors over the years, some through professional programs, some through just, hey, my own personal, hey, I need a mentor. I don't know everything. Although I think I'm expected to be the SME in certain things because of my title, it's just a lot I don't know. And so I definitely like to reach out to people and just gain insights and say, hey, I thought about this. I have nothing. Can you help me out?
Mm-hmm. So through your journey, and you've had the opportunity to work a few places and a couple locales, what's something that you've observed that if somebody came to you, Shak, and said, Shak, today you get to make a decision for our industry and we're going to change the way we do something. What's that something for you that you think we should really consider changing?
And a great question. As I think about that question, and in my role, being in a growth organization, all things business development, capture and proposals, one of the things that I've seen over the years, in the industry, we put a lot of effort into responding to RFPs. Yep. And it takes a lot of man hours. As they say, get to the left of the opportunity, right? Got to get ahead of it. And so much goes into it. And I think if I could change anything, I would say, during that proposal process, I would love if more agencies would do probably like a phased proposal process or an advisory down select, instead of saying, hey, everybody submit on this proposal and then it takes 12 months to award something. Why not say, hey, let's do a phased approach. Let's do phase one. And those that meet certain things or those that are highly rated, then you can move to phase two. And I think that would just probably help a lot. Just speaking from someone who, reads every single proposal that goes out the door. I think it would help to know, like, hey, we've submitted, we made the down select, great. Let's keep charging. Let's keep putting the man hours into it. But hey, we submitted, we didn't make the down select. Okay, we can move on to something else. So I would say for me, I think that would be helpful. Just as I look at, because from a business developer, we look at the world, right, of opportunities and you have this funnel. And as you're just, narrowing down your funnel to the things that make sense, just if we had that opportunity to know, like, hey, after 30 days, yep, you're in there. No, you're not. I think it would just help a lot. So
yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I'm on the government side, and although when I was in industry, I did proposals, so I'm very familiar with that, bid, no bid decision, and
yes,
the challenge of having to bid this huge proposal and then hope that your time and effort pays off. So I could see from your perspective that it would give you kind of these gates where you wouldn't have to present the entire proposal and put all the time and energy into it.
Yes.
Do you think there's I'm curious, just from your perspective, and this is totally unscripted, why do you think government wouldn't do something like that? Do you think it would increase protest risk?
You know what? I don't know why. I've been doing this for 10 years and obviously it hasn't been, 25, 30 years or so, but I can count on one hand the efforts that we went after that I've seen that type of down select. So I'm not sure if it's more effort on the government side to do so, to say, hey, let's stop in time, let's take a pause and review these proposals, then get people to bid more versus let's just put it out in one sweep and we get in what we get in, and then we kind of make our evaluations from that point. I don't know. Maybe it takes more time to do so.
Maybe. I don't know. Food for thought for my next procurement.
Absolutely.
Should I change the way I do it based on Shak's advice?
Never know.
Never know. It's certainly worthy of consideration, though, because one of the challenges on the government side is we want to make sure, not that just we have competition, but that we're getting to the right company, right?
Absolutely.
Who is truly going to meet the requirements of the need, and not and that's something we worry about on our side, is how many bidders we're going to get. And something you're suggesting would reduce, I think it would reduce some of our own workload as well. But we would need to structure our procurement differently.
Absolutely. I mean, because obviously I'm sure it would need to be structured in a way to make sure, hey, all of the the I's are dotted, the T's are crossed, and try to do things in a way to avoid protests. But, I think, we've had a couple of deals on our end where it's been this advisory down select or this phased approach, and it has just been great just to know, like, hey, we're going to work on this deal and we're going to submit. And now we're just going to, see what the government comes back with before we expend more hours. So maybe it benefits us more.
I don't know. I think it could be potentially beneficial both ways. I'll have to take a look at that. That's a great idea. Maybe that's a change that should actually happen.
Maybe so. Yeah.
So where do you see yourself? Where are you headed, or where's 7 Cents headed? What's the near to mid future looking like for your organization and for yourself?
Well, thank you for asking. So, 7 Cents, we have been around since 2012. And, our company started with 4 founders with really a passion for acquisition management. And over the years, we've been from my perspective, I think we've been very successful. We've been able to bring people into our family, so to speak. I know that probably sounds cliche, but we call everyone that joined 7 Cents family members. We don't call them employees. They are our members. And we've been very successful with helping the government with their acquisition processes. As we look to the future, we really realized that we needed to make a switch. And so we've recently stood up an IT division. We've really looked at, hey, what have we done well and how can we kind of rinse and repeat, so to speak, and now make our way into information technology. We recently launched a product called CPI for contract management support. And so what we're trying to do is not necessarily move away from our core of acquisition management, but really just expand what we're offering to the government by way of information technology, by way of products. And so for 7 Cents, that's where we're going. We're still keeping who we are at our core, which is acquisition support, but really just breaking into IT because as we know, as the saying goes, when you're successful, it's the double-edged sword because you're successful under certain NAICS code. And then when you get larger, there is no emerging large. There is no, mid-size set-asides. And so, we recognize that in order to stay competitive, in order to make sure that we have an environment where people can come and climb a ladder and grow, that we needed to really diversify and really just add to what we currently offer.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. I mean, that's something that's definitely a need for government, is solutions to help with their acquisition pipeline or contract management or anything in that space. I'm at my 4th federal agency, and there are tools, but they're not really great.
Sure.
So, good idea.
Yeah, no, we thought so. We did a lot of just research and analysis to figure out, okay, what makes the most sense? You don't want to offer things that are not of value to our customers, but we really saw, okay, is there a way we can help government agencies manage their contracts more effectively and really simplify that process? So we're hoping, we launched it in February, so we were putting a lot of effort into it.
That's fantastic. Well, Shak, I want to thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. This is such a joy to talk to you and get to know you a little better. So I look forward to working with you with the associates and whenever else we have an opportunity to interact.
Absolutely. And again, Jeremy, thank you so much for just taking the time to chat with me and reaching out and say, hey, Shak, I want to chat. And I was like, whoa, let's get it going. So
absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. I hope you have a good one, Jeremy.